So, welcome back to another episode of the Checkerboard Chat. I'm Josh Lane, joined as always by Ethan, Andrew, and Riley. We're here on a Wednesday morning. I don't know why that matters. It doesn't because it's not coming out on Wednesday. But big news yesterday, I guess in the sports world, we'll dive right into it. Kennedy Chandler, we all saw it coming, declares for the NBA draft. So we'll just go ahead and get started here. Just thoughts and, takeaways from Kennedy Chandler's decision yesterday?
It's not very surprising. I guess the overarching question now is where does Tennessee turn next? But, just diving into Chandler for a little bit before we do that, that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You got Tennessee fans have had to get used to one-and-dones recently. I believe this is their third in the past, 2 seasons, I guess. Obviously with Jaden Springer and Keon Johnson going in the first round last year, and then I'm sure if Jaden and Keon can go in the first round, Kennedy will probably join them on that train and be the third first rounder in the past 2 seasons for Barnes. But I'd say of the three, and it's hard to judge them against each other, but I'd say of the three, Kennedy, A, delivered the most, and B, was just the most exciting to watch. He was truly one of the better players Tennessee has had talent-wise in probably the last 20 years.
Easy.
Maybe even further than that. He's just one of the highest raw talents that Tennessee's ever had, and it translated to the court. And there's really not much more you can say on that. It's hard to do it justice, just how much of an impact he was on Tennessee and their run, I guess, to winning their first SEC tournament championship since 1979 and doing stuff in the postseason as well, I guess.
Yeah. It's safe to say that he delivered, coming in here, 5-star, he lived up to potential. Obviously, he struggled a little bit out the gate. That's expected. Freshman, getting used to, life in college, and struggled a few months there. But then once SEC play started, he just hit the ground running. He was unreal. Obviously, like you said, brought Tennessee the SEC tournament title, 16-0 at home, all those great moments that he brought Tennessee. Like you said, a fun ride, and easily one of the more talented players to ever set foot here at Tennessee. No question about it. If you go pure talent, obviously Tobias Harris went first round. He's up there for, just pure talent first round, obviously. And the thing about it, too, that sets him apart from Keon and Jaden, I'm not saying those two didn't care, but I think he cared just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Obviously that last moment that we will ever have Kennedy Chandler is him crying in Juwan Howard's arms.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's the last moment we will see him in a Tennessee uniform, but he cared that much. Obviously, we knew that he would be leaving after this year, but we all wish that wasn't the way he left Tennessee. But it is what it is. We can only just thank him for the great moments he brought Tennessee and wish him nothing but the best, and he will excel at the NBA level, no question about it.
Yeah, you guys have said what there is to be said about his talent. Just a raw, talented guy, just a hooper through and through. And then also, I feel like he just connected with Tennessee fans more than most one-and-dones do at their schools. I think that makes it a little bit harder for Tennessee fans going forward. You expect it, but that doesn't make it easier. With Keon and Jaden last year, like you guys said, they obviously cared.
Yeah.
Kennedy Chandler seems like he cared a lot more. And so I think that makes it hard to kind of lose a guy like that, just a guy who's really fun. Not only just fun to watch, great basketball player, but also just a guy you kind of want on your team. So he definitely had a lasting impact at Tennessee, even though he was just here for a year. And, I'm excited to see how he matches up in the NBA and where he lands.
Ultimately, there's just not much more that Chandler can learn at college.
Yeah.
And that's, going back to other Tennessee point guards, I think Jordan Bones should have stayed an extra year.
Yes.
I'm always going to have that take.
Yes.
But someone like Kennedy Chandler, even if he's a little smaller than Bone and probably not as, athletic, honestly, as Jordan Bone was, I don't think it matters. Him defensively, just the way he really locks in on the defensive end and his just ability for the modern game, I feel like just translates so well. And I'm hoping a team like the Jazz gets him in the late first round, but you never know.
I'm hoping he slips to the end of the second round so the Celtics can pick him up.
And see, that's the good thing, too. He has potential. He may not be a lottery pick, but he can go to a good team.
Yeah.
And that's really good for, Tennessee fans to watch him like, hey, he's not going to go to a low-life team like the Pistons or someone like that. He's going to go to a good team and have quality minutes on a very good basketball team.
And I mean, I joked about the Jazz, but it really is. It really kind of says something about him that last season, like, with Keon and Jaden, they were both kind of slated to go in that range where the Jazz were.
Yeah.
I was kind of towards them. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I liked them in college, but I'm not sure I want them on my team right now. And neither of them are doing fantastic in the NBA. I think Kennedy's going to do great.
Yeah,
I really
so
do.
too.
I think he's going to join the likes of Grant and Tobias that are being legitimate NBA players right now.
Yeah.
And you know, for him to be that late of a first-round prospect just because he's small, but that's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee fans, I feel like no matter where he goes, one of the 30 NBA teams is going to have a Tennessee fan. They're going to be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be like a, I don't know, times a flat circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we get this guy again.
Yeah. And I think that range is honestly such a good place for a guy like Chandler to go, because he's not going to be a guy like, I don't know, like who's a number, like Zion Williamson or John Morant, where he's going to come in and immediately like change the culture of a team and make them a winning team. You know, if he got drafted in the lottery to like the
He's not going to be a
Rockets.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Sorry with the Jazz stuff, but that's exactly what happened there.
He's not going to be a guy who you can draft and he's immediately going to turn your season around like LeBron did or like John Morant's done with the Grizzlies. So I think for him, that range, you know, 13 to 20 is such a good place to be because he can hop on a team that's already really good, learn from some really good players, and you know, start to make an impact. Kind of like you said, like what we're seeing with Grant right now. You know, he got drafted middle of the first round to the Celtics, and now he's becoming a guy who's just stepping up. He's been starting recently, so I kind of think Chandler could be like a guy like that. So I like that range that he's sitting at right now.
Obviously different roles, but he just like he fits in so well. I feel like with the type of point guards that are in the NBA. I know I've said that already, but I know he's friends at least to a certain level with Joe Morant, and you know John Morant's one of the most exciting players in the league right now, and just the idea he's not going to be a John Morant. Let's put that because John Morant's just. He's a different player. He's insane athletic, you know, talent. But Chandler definitely has that ability to be kind of like, I don't know, who's... I'm trying to think of NBA I guess people he could
I kind of
be
see him
similar
as
to.
like maybe like a Darius Garland. You know,
Yeah.
Darius Garland's about 6 feet. He
Shorter
can score, but he can also pass the ball really well. I think he could honestly develop into a guy like that.
Yeah.
You know, he's not super undersized, but he's not the tallest guy in the world. So I think something like that would fit nicely for him.
Yeah.
And that's the best case scenario. Darius Garland's a really good player.
Yeah. Obviously, Darius Garland out of Vanderbilt, you know, he kind of had that iffy first start to it, and obviously he never actually went to Vanderbilt, and that's just very sad for Vanderbilt fans because he's a fantastic player. They really have bad luck with him.
They really
I don't know if
do.
you guys look into it too much, but every single good player that Vanderbilt is about to get, they get injured. And they never actually play.
We'll talk about Vanderbilt a lot.
I was going to say we'll hit more on Vanderbilt.
Look, I do want to ask this question. I think we've kind of hinted at it. Did Kennedy Chandler live up to the expectations that he came here with? Obviously, 5-star prospect, whatever, very highly rated. Comes here out of Memphis. I guess he even chooses Tennessee over Memphis, who had the top class at the time. Comes here to Knoxville, has a great season, but did he live up to expectations?
I would say,
Easy.
I would say, I'd say he exceeded expectations because, you know, I was going to talk about it a little bit earlier. It's hard to replace a guy like that, and you know Tennessee's going to be able to because of Zakai Ziegler. Probably not replace that explosiveness and that ability just to take over a game whenever he wanted. I mean, people forget that Michigan game. He just about like cemented himself in Tennessee like history forever because he had that 1 10-minute stretch where he just was not like you couldn't stop him. You just could not stop him. He went right at Hunter Dickinson. He was like, "I'm going to score the basketball here. You're going to have to keep up." And Michigan did. They kept up, and that's why they ended up winning that game. But I mean, Kennedy several times throughout the season just had that ability to be like, okay, we're winning this game. If we're not winning this game, I'm going to leave every single bit of myself out on the court. And that you just don't see that much. I've seen that from Keon Johnson last season against Kentucky. I've seen that from Grant maybe twice. And that's it. I mean, it's just he did it a couple times throughout the season where he was just like, "I'm going to score here," and you guys are not going to be able to.
I would
do
say
anything
Admiral
about
did
it.
that a couple times.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true enough. I forgot about Admiral. He probably actually is the king of that.
Yeah.
But you know the point is made regardless. I mean, Kennedy being that guy to go to whenever you need a bucket, obviously that in and of itself will exceed expectations, I guess. And him going along with Zakai too, him playing with Zakai at that level. I mean, just the sky is the limit if he
Mm-hmm.
were to come back for one more season. Obviously not. But.
Yeah. No, I mean, he 100% exceeded expectations. There's no question that he did. I mean, honestly, that last game like you just mentioned, he did all that he could, and there's nothing to be disappointed about his performance in that last Michigan game. Just his postseason play, what he did this season just shows how special of a talent he is, winning MVP of the SEC tournament, obviously balling out against Longwood and then against Michigan, doing all that he can. He led them, obviously Michigan took away the 3, and he just dominated in the paint for, that, like you said, the stretch of 10 minutes there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, back to your question, easily exceeded expectations. Tennessee fans knew coming in that he was a special talent. He proved it from day one. We knew, even in that preseason kind of matchup against, who was it, Lenore Ryan, how he showed how special, how quick he was, how long he was on defense with his 6'7", 6'8" wingspan at 6'1" guard. That's just like God-given talent. I mean, like, you can't stop that.
Yeah.
So special talent, and super exceeded expectations.
Yeah, and not only did he exceed expectations, numbers wise and winning wise, he also just bought into the culture a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't make it about himself, which I think a lot of one and dones can do. And I think that was kind of why this team had so much success, because it wasn't, Chandler wasn't trying to get his numbers in. He wasn't trying to get his draft stock up. He was just doing his thing. He was just, trying to win games and trying to make the team the best it could be. And so, yeah, I think he absolutely lived up to expectations, then probably exceeded them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pose a question here. Where does Tennessee go without Kennedy? Do you think it'll be a huge problem next season, or do you think it'll just kind of get swallowed up with the amount of talent coming in / retained?
I don't think it'll be a huge problem necessarily. Obviously, losing a NBA talent of his level, every team's going to hurt, obviously. But the best part is, unlike most teams, Tennessee has somebody to step in, Josiah Ziegler, and also bring in a B.J. Edwards, who's not obviously a Chandler talent, but he's still a very good player, a very good prospect. And the thing about Edwards, he'll probably be here more than a season. Same with Sakai. So Rick Barnes and company can obviously do what they do and groom these guys and make them into a really special talent. So, yes, it will be hard to lose a talent of Kennedy Chandler, but luckily for Tennessee, they have somebody who has been there, done that with Josiah Ziegler for a year, B.J. Edwards, and also you've seen Sky Clark is out there. Just left Kentucky, as a commit. Tennessee's in his top 5 or 6 right now. Obviously, it's not bona fide that he comes here, but they're looking for somebody else as well. So they can bring another point guard, somebody grad transfer or transfer portal, recruit. So it'll hurt, but I think they'll be fine at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some growing pains, and, it'll take maybe those first couple of games, and, luckily those games are always give-me games. So I think there'll be some time where they have to figure out who they are without Chandler, who's going to be that offensive spark. You say Josiah Ziegler, hopefully Vescavie's back. I'd say there's like a 98% chance he is.
Yeah.
And so I think you don't lose much in terms of guards, because you get those 2 guys back, and then you also get in B.J. Edwards, and there's a lot of opportunity to play the transfer pool or play the transfer pool well. They opened up a couple of scholarship opportunities, so they could bring in a couple of big names. You mentioned the Kentucky guard, and there's a lot of guys like that out in the transfer. Transfer. What's
portal?
Portal. I don't know why I kept saying pool. There's a lot of guys out there in the transfer portal that Tennessee could pull in. So I think there's bound to be growing pains, but I don't think it's a huge loss.
Yeah,
I think you made a good point just by mentioning Vescavie, because right now Tennessee can bring in a lot of guys, but between Santiago Vescavie and Josiah Jordan James, those are two big pieces from this team that could or could not be here. Now, obviously Vescavie declared for the draft, going through the process. He'd still be eligible if he comes back. Josiah hasn't made a decision yet, and a couple weeks ago, I think we all thought pretty clearly that he would be back. I don't know how we feel now at this point about Josiah returning, but even then, if losing a guy like Chandler, if you have only one or both of them are gone, that's a big loss too. That will definitely factor into that.
Yeah. Josiah, I feel like he's a guy that would want to finish what he started. I feel like Josiah will be back, even if, other than Kennedy, he's probably the most legit NBA prospect on the team. But yeah, I see Josiah coming back, and and like Andrew was talking to a little bit earlier, like he alluded to, Tennessee has 2 open roster spots right now.
Yeah.
I expect that number to go up between Vescavie, who's probably going to come back, between James, who's probably going to come back. But someone's going to transfer again, I feel like. I feel like there's going to be another transfer to join Brock Jancic, to join Victor Bailey, and most recently Tamba, who just entered the portal. The losses of Tamba and Bailey are not huge ones if you replace them well. Tennessee has been looking, obviously, at Sky Clark, who's not really a transfer guy because he wasn't committed to, he hadn't played in the college level. Yeah. He's just a commit for the class of 2022. But you also got Nigel Pack from Kansas State, who has reports have said that he's kind of willed it down to Duke and Tennessee of his major group of the guys that he's listened to. He's a point guard, 6-foot point guard, shoots 42% from 3. Not sure if that's really what Tennessee needs, especially with B.J. Edwards and Zakai Ziegler. I'm of the thought process that I don't think B.J. Edwards is going to play much next season, so it would be very interesting to see if Barnes would bring in another point guard like Pack, There's a Belmont transfer that his name is escaping me. There's Brandon Murray from LSU. All sorts of dudes that Barnes can go after.
There's half of LSU's
half of LSU's roster.
Actually,
is,
most of LSU.
Like I think 11 of their players into the transfer portal for reasons that we could start another podcast on. But what I'm saying is, like Andrew said, landing the plane here. There's a lot of more bodies out there that Barnes can go get, and honestly, a lot of guys that can be an upgrade to what we've lost, to what Tennessee has lost. Tamba, he was a project. He didn't play He didn't play at all. He didn't have a sniff of the court all season. Victor Bailey was really good, a good player a couple years ago. He's kind of regressed, and it's honestly a good thing that he left because he wasn't going to get any playing time.
No.
I cannot believe Justin Powell is not in the transfer portal yet. He's probably going to be, and to be honest, he probably won't be the last. I'm betting there will be at least one more, maybe 2.
Who else do you think besides Powell?
Maybe Brandon Huntley Hatfield.
You think?
I don't know.
I don't
if he hasn't done it yet, I think he might stay. I've kind of walked that theory back. That's why I haven't said much about it. But in the off season, I remember Josh and I, when we were in Indianapolis, as we were walking back from the hotel, we were like, all right, who's leaving? First thing I said was Justin Powell. And then I was like, Brandon Huntley Hatfield. Those will be my 2.
If you'd asked me in February, I would have said it was a lock that Brandon Huntley Hatfield
but now
transferred.
The
way he ended his season,
that's what I'm
something
saying.
about it, I think it brought that percentage down for me.
Yeah.
I feel
I could have seen it, like you said, early, because he really didn't do much. But since he's been starting, been playing effective, played well against Michigan, I just don't see it happening. Now that Folky's gone, obviously coming back from injury, but I just feel like Huntley Hatfield's ceiling is so high, especially here. I don't know. I just feel like he might be the guy next year.
I think I kind of agree with you. That's why I didn't mention it until the very end. He's a guy I can definitely see transferring.
Sure.
Now, Justin Powell, he's a different story. I said him earlier. I still kind of expect him to transfer,
That's fair.
to be honest
That's
with you.
fair.
Because he's the, if we're going to go into specifics here, he was the same player Victor Bailey was last year.
Yeah.
And Barnes didn't play either of them.
Yeah.
They kind of filled the same role. Neither of them ever really played.
Yeah.
Not really.
That's just not what Tennessee needs right now.
It's not. It's totally not. And especially if Barnes is already looking at this Nigel Pat guy, if Barnes is legitimately looking at Sky Clark from Kentucky, it's obvious he wants point guards.
Yeah.
It's obvious that he thinks Vescovie's going to stay. Probably means that James is going to stay too, because Barnes knows all that stuff.
Yeah,
he
he
wouldn't
does.
be talking to these point guards if he knew that Josiah was going to
Bounce.
declare for the draft, if he knew Vescovie was probably going to declare for the draft. So as far as next season goes, I would look for a point guard, and I would look for, hopefully, I haven't seen anything yet. I've seen this guy from Utah Valley. I can't remember his name, but I would hope that Barnes would be looking at a big man to replace what Tamba was going to hopefully be here in about 2 years, about 2 seasons. Because while Tamba was a project, he was a legitimate project. Here in a couple years, he could have been really good.
Really good.
And he hops for the portal, and to be honest, I can't see him going really to any conference except for maybe the SWAC. I don't know. He's just, I saw some people saying that he might leave with Swartz to East Carolina. He can't play in that league. He just can't.
He's got to have a coach who's willing to,
take a chance on him.
Yeah, take a chance and go.
Unless he wants to leave and do the same thing for Mike Schwartz and be a project guy for another season, then maybe that'll work. Because you see Drew Pember, he's killing it. I didn't think he would do anything over there in UNC Asheville. I think I'm not 100% sure.
Player of the year.
He led the league in block or this conference in blocks.
He grew like a beard thing. He looks like a completely different player. And like physically and on the court. It's incredible. It's incredible to watch unfold. But I've been rambling here for a little bit, so I'm gonna just go ahead and fade out.
It's good to have you back because last time our episode was a little short because we didn't have you rambling the whole time.
Yeah, but I guess I'll leave it with this point. I feel like Tennessee basketball is gonna be fun. I really do. I don't know who is going to lead Tennessee basketball, but I feel Rick Barnes will be able to get that point guard, be able to get those players to keep things going.
I guess just real quick, should we talk about where Vescavie might land if he, we can talk about Vescavie. Yeah.
Easy. I mean, maybe even second round.
My thought process for Vescavie is he's gonna get some great feedback. He could, if he wanted to, he could maybe get drafted, maybe with the very last pick, like Jordan Bone, and then go play overseas. But I just don't see him doing that. I don't. He would do so well with another year at Tennessee. So I can't see a world where he goes to the draft.
This is Jordan Bone part 2, guys.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping Vescavie makes the right decision.
Yeah.
And that's not because I feel like Tennessee needs it. I feel like it's because Vescavie needs it. I really do. And, we don't know what's best for the dude. Let Vescavie do what he wants to do. We're just four dudes talking around a microphone. But when it comes down to it, this is exactly what Tennessee saw from Jordan Bone. And if Vescavie really only cares about making a paycheck and, maybe going back to wherever, and playing, I don't know, Uruguay, Europe, wherever he wants to play, he could do that. And he could be a star over there.
He could be.
But I feel like if he really has these NBA aspirations, he's got to realize, dude, you're not going to be a what's that guy's name for the Raptors? Fred VanVleet, undrafted guy. It's probably not going to happen. Yeah. That's very unlikely.
1 in a million shot.
Exactly. And like you guys said, he's a late second round pick at best right now. If he stays, he's a draft prospect. I mean, we saw the jump he had from sophomore season to junior season. So, I mean, just imagine what it would be from junior season to senior season. And how much better he can get, and he could legitimately be a early second round, maybe late first round if he can kind of get more of a mid-range jump shot. Yeah. But he's a good player. He is, and he could definitely work his way up to being, like I said, where he goes in the draft.
Yeah. So let's move on to baseball now. The unanimous number 1 team, every poll has the Vols ranked number 1. They've now won 20 games in a row since they lost to Texas back a month ago.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
The sources are telling me.
Is that good?
Pretty good.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. I want to look up the MLB win streak record just for
I think
comparison.
Cleveland said it was mid 20, it was 23, 24 maybe.
Is Moneyball about them having a streak?
But the Indians broke it a couple of years ago.
22, yeah.
The
22.
Yeah. Well, hold on.
Shoot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Cancel
Guardians.
Riley.
Cancel me right now.
That's all right. Opening day's tomorrow, so
we'll let it slide for one more day.
Technically, the 1916 New York Giants won 26 games in a row.
Or we keeping track then?
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't really mean anything because it's not the major leagues, but
still,
anytime you can win 20 games in a row, I think that's a good thing.
I mean, they're playing SEC talent in this. I mean, sure they have some
best teams in the SEC.
They have some East Carolinas in there. They have some Rhode Islands in there, but they also have
West Carolina.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm nervous. You're really going to be that guy right now? It's 8:30 in the morning. 9:30 in the morning.
9:30.
See, that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. I can't function this early. But regardless, they have a Vanderbilt in there. They have legitimate talent in there. And, that's impressive. Like you say, it's impressive if you're doing it against West Carolina for 20 games in a row. Mm-hmm. They're doing it to very good teams in this, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're off to you mentioned it, but the SEC teams are off to their best conference start ever at 9-0. Most recently, Vanderbilt on the road in Nashville. That was a big series there. A lot happened. So I guess just thoughts on that kind of off the top. The Jordan Beck incident, check the bat, gets confiscated, never. Just thoughts on that and what
I want to say something really fast, and I don't want this to come off awful. I didn't follow Tennessee baseball too much, and I was watching the Vanderbilt series because college basketball just ended, if anyone didn't know. Very sad for me. So I have to get into baseball now. But anyway, the Vanderbilt game was going on while basketball was still going on, and I picked to watch the Vanderbilt game. So
wow,
yeah, someone
good
give me
for
a clap.
you.
Someone give me a clap. Anyway, watching that, I see the thing with Jordan Beck. Where obviously Vitello has he's like, hey, what's happening here? Pretty much, and he walks out there for about, I'd say, 30 seconds, and I texted Josh. I was like, Tennessee leads the home run race by 20, and they just got a bat taken away against Vanderbilt. They're cheating, aren't they? That is exactly what I thought. I was like, man, everything makes so much sense now. It turns out that is most definitely not the case. Not really. There were still kind of some thoughts that might be it after the first couple hours, because we thought, they're going to look at the bat, all this other stuff. It turned out that it was a pretty innocent mistake, I'd say. I mean, it seems to be on Jordan Beck that he put this wrong stick. I don't 100% know. I'll let you guys go into that. But I just wanted to get that out of the way because I feel like it had to be addressed. I was like, oh, man, this is not a good look.
Well, they inspect each bat before every game, every series. And when they do that, they put a sticker with the opposing team's logo on it. Mm-hmm. So Beck's bat had a Western Carolina logo on it from their midweek game. He got it inspected, and it passed Vanderbilt, so they put a sticker on it, and he says it fell off during batting practice, and he saw it, but it didn't realize what was happening or think anything of it, so took it up there, and the catcher happened to see it.
Mm-hmm. I think the only thing that is fishy on either party, and you don't know what this says about who or what, but they compare the stickers to car tags that you put on your license plate. So they're definitely heavy duty stickers, but it's kind of rainy, it's kind of humid. Maybe it just didn't get a good stick on there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, my first thought, because I didn't have any information, was Tennessee is cheating 100%. And then I thought about it more, and I was like, oh, Vanderbilt is the one that's more likely cheating in this scenario right now. My bet is exactly what Andrew said. I bet nobody's cheating. I bet it was just bad coincidence, honestly. I don't know. We have no way of knowing, and we're probably not going to have any way of knowing. But it's just fun to see everybody have a hot take, like I did. I was like, "Oh yeah, Tennessee's cheating." There's no way.
You were not the only one to say.
I was like, Tennessee has been just dominating teams all season. It would make sense, but obviously that is not the case.
And I think Vitello's reaction is kind of telling for. This team is not cheating because he wouldn't have gotten that mad and offended.
True.
Yes,
because he's like, my team can just hit home runs really well.
Yeah.
And people are just mad that we can't and are accusing us of cheating. And that's why, I'm going to storm out of the dugout and be really angry about
that was hilarious.
I mean, if Vitello knew he was cheating, he would have just stayed. He'd been like, oh.
He'd be like, oh, shoot, I'm busted. But no, he's like, this is an insult to my team that we're being accused of cheating. So I think that kind of says a lot.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And for 100%. What it's worth, I mean, they homered 5 times, maybe not 5 times in that opening game, but they didn't at all for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So, there you go. I do think we need to talk about Tennessee's pitching staff because, man, have they been incredible.
It's unfair.
And from 2 freshmen and a sophomore transfer that hadn't pitched much in the SEC, I think he only had a couple series last year against, teams like Tennessee. They have just been incredible. And as we mentioned, number 1, Ole Miss. Last week, Vanderbilt was ranked number 9 when Tennessee played them. I mean, they've just carved them up. It's not even been like a growing pain type situation where they've had to ease their way in. It's just been flat out dominance for, all of SEC play. Now, just the numbers from these starters against Vanderbilt over the weekend: 22 innings. 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 17 strikeouts. Drew Beam threw a complete game, shutout. You don't ever see that, at like the major league level anymore. So, going back to that kind of comparison. So, they're just they're doing things that, hasn't been done. Tennessee hasn't seen in a long time. I mean, Tennessee had great starters last year, but it was nothing like what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. So I was about to say I covered my first baseball game for Tennessee, I guess, yesterday, so I'm very talkative about it. But walking in, and I had known Ben Joyce was just this ridiculous pitcher, But walking in and seeing him throw 7 straight 100-mile-an-hour pitches, and everyone there is just like, yeah, that's just kind of what happens here. I was like, what are we talking about?
101.
Like,
that's not even getting going for him.
Yeah, I know it.
That's
what I was like. He never got over 101, and he's thrown 104 miles an hour. And it's like, this is like, is no one else just like, this is ridiculous? This is completely unfair.
Yeah.
But Andrew, I'll let you cook.
Yeah. It's just insane to me how unfazed these guys are. They don't care that they're playing at Ole Miss, which is arguably one of the best baseball environments in college baseball. They don't care that they're playing at Vanderbilt with, thousands of streaming fans and the whistleblower. They're going to come in and just do their thing, and they don't act like freshmen. Vitello says that, I think, like every time Chase Burns pitches, but they just don't act like freshmen. Mm-hmm. And it's just, they shouldn't be pitching like this in these environments, but they are, and they don't care about where they're playing or who they're playing.
Real quick about that whistleblower. I went to Omaha last year. He was the most annoying soul I've ever heard in my life.
It's amazing he doesn't get clocked.
Oh, I don't know why
you can hear him, even on the TV broadcast, you can hear him loud and clear.
But the good thing was he shut up on Sunday, so that was nice.
That's right. He had an easy weekend.
Yeah. But I think kind of going through the pitching, what's great is, like, obviously the home run thing happened on Friday, whatever it was. But the great part was they didn't need it. It didn't matter because their pitching is that dominant. I mean, Vanderbilt didn't score a single run in the finale on Sunday.
First time they've been shut out all year.
That's what I'm saying. And then, like, Dolander, I think, had a no-hitter through 5 or 6 maybe on Saturday. And then, of course, Chase Burns does Chase Burns thing. The great part is Tony V stole him from Corbin's backyard in Gallatin. Mm-hmm. So he literally outshined Corbin, who is this pitching guru. He stole his prospect from Nashville. And so, I don't know. Like, the thing about that is that just speaks to how good Tony V is as a recruiter. He might be one of the best recruiters in the country in just any sport whatsoever. He might be the best one. Because what he came here at Tennessee, let's just be honest, the baseball program just wasn't what it just wasn't
not at all.
Yeah. And what he's done in 5 years, made it to 2 straight just NCAA tournaments, obviously 19 last year at World Series, #1 overall ranking. Like, that is special. And to beat Vanderbilt, who is the quote-unquote Alabama of baseball, of the SEC, sweep them like that, you've made it. I mean, you've legit made it.
Yeah. The season is far from over, but, I mean, this is just a clinic from Vitello.
Yeah.
And from someone that, once again, does not follow baseball. The stuff Tennessee's doing is ridiculous, especially with the bats they had coming into the season. I remember Josh and I, in one of our special issues, we were, like, laying out who we thought the starting 9 were. We were like, I have no idea. Jordan Begg, Drew Gilbert.
That's it. Yeah.
I was like, who else is
Lipsius was
going to put the ball in play? Everyone was like, it's going to be a lot of 2-1 games.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I mean, it took. I mean, I get it's Iona, but it took like a week, and Tennessee was up 29-0 on Iona. It's like, I don't care if you're playing the school for the deaf and blind.
That's a lot.
Being up 29-0 in baseball is unbelievable. If you're putting up that many runs, you have to have decent hitters.
Yeah.
Tennessee has 9 of them.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy is, like, they were projected to be 4th in the SEC East this year. Vanderbilt, Florida, and Georgia were projected to finish in front of them this year by the media.
The best-looking team in baseball.
By far.
And it's not particularly close. I know Virginia's doing pretty well right now.
Well, I think they lost in their series last week to Georgia Tech, or pretty close to it,
I think the other one is Arkansas, and I don't think Tennessee plays Arkansas in the regular season this season.
Georgia's looking all right, too.
Which is awful.
A travesty.
I mean, everybody in the SEC is usually going to be pretty good, I feel like. You got Virginia. Isn't, like, Oregon State pretty
Oregon
good?
State, I think, they were number 3 last week. They might have jumped up after the weekend.
But what I'm saying here is none of them really touch what Tennessee has.
There is a clear drop off. There's a lot of good teams.
I saw this thing on Twitter of this fan that wasn't really into baseball, and he said specifically, he was like, I'm not really into baseball. Is my site wrong? And he had like stat pictures of Tennessee home run 20 more, ERA way lower than everybody else. Yeah. Just like all these stats where Tennessee is first across the board.
It's crazy.
And it's like, this is unfair. This is absurd. This is silly.
What's crazy about this win streak? They're 20 games right now. They could make it 35 games probably. I mean, they got their 2 hardest opponents out of the way in Ole Miss and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And now you've got Missouri this week. You've got Alabama. You don't really have a ton of teams that you could sweep all these series.
You go to Mississippi State, who's not as good as they were last year winning the World Series, but that's nothing to scoff at. It's still a very good series. But like you said,
if I remember correctly, they weren't a high seed, were they? Mississippi State?
Last season? No.
I don't think they were a high seed when they won the College World
No,
Series.
they weren't.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, like, of course, the SEC is the toughest conference in the country, so no series is bona fide. But like you said, having Missouri at home this weekend, I think what I heard on the broadcast last night, the most wins that an SEC team has gotten to start the season is 10. Florida did that. Tennessee can tie that Friday night and pass it Saturday.
Yeah.
Which is more likely going to happen because Missouri, I think, are they like kind of dead last right now?
They are 3-6 in the
3-6.
SEC,
So not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But SEC baseball is SEC baseball. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Tennessee is really freaking good.
I'm looking at their schedule and just of their weekend series, Georgia at Knoxville here in
that'll be
May.
a good series.
That'll be their biggest series.
They
for
just
the rest
swept
of the year.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Georgia's a good team, as we mentioned. They're ranked. I do want to wrap it up, but just out of all this, we didn't even mention Blade Tidwell once.
Yeah.
And like he's got 2 appearances on the year. Just started yesterday. Like that's where Tennessee is that they're All-American freshman from last year who's jumped up, high draft prospect. He's pitched twice, coming back from injury. And we're like, where is he going to fit in? He doesn't really have a spot right now. So
forgive me if I'm wrong. Also, they also still have Seth Halverson, right?
Yeah, he'll be back. He's probably a week or so away.
I was going to say, what on earth is he going to do? He's going to pitch 1 inning in the 8th. It's, at this point, he's probably like a really good arm, but like you were saying, Blade Tidwell, like we haven't said his name once, and he was Tennessee's ace last season.
Yeah.
One of them at least, and one of Tennessee's better pitchers anyway. You can only have one ace, but for Tidwell to go out there and only pitch 2 in a midweek game, that's insane. That there are 3 guys that are playing so much better, and obviously he had his shoulder thing, obviously.
I was going to say, most teams definitely have a 1, maybe a 2. Tennessee's got 4. 4. I mean, that's absurd.
I think all 4 of them would legitimately be a number 1 at almost any other school
no
you
question.
put them on.
And that sets up Tennessee well for tournament play, come SEC, and obviously NCAA tournament. If you have 4 guys who are bona fide starters, there's no worry about pitching. I mean, that's just going to be unreal.
Not to mention a dude that has 104-mile-an-hour.
Yeah,
exactly.
After the game yesterday, Martel said that Joyce is worked up enough. He could probably go 5 innings if they need him. Obviously,
he's looking better
the
every
velocity's not going to be there, 100 miles an hour for 5 innings. But I mean, just imagine that.
I'd hate to be the hitter.
What's the possibility of him being like a Kevin Kopps, just closer guy? Do you think that'll ever happen?
I can't
a dude that can
imagine
throw
that.
104 miles an hour.
I see that more for Tidwell than I do Joyce, though.
Yeah.
Like Tidwell can be that Cops guy. If
He
like
could definitely
he
go
could be
long.
100%.
He is more versatile. That's for sure.
Yes.
I mean,
They basically killed Kevin Kopps' arm too.
That is true.
I wouldn't want that on any pitch. Tidwell I think has a length to where he could do it, but like a normal reliever, a guy like Ben Joyce that's only ever done like an inning max 2.
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't
true.
push him
That was legitimately disgusting what they did, what Arkansas did to him last season. I mean, disgusting.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the game exactly, but there was one of them. He was throwing like twice or 3 times as many pitches as he should have been, and they just kept him out there. And it's like, dude, you're killing this guy.
I think their last game versus NC State, he threw like
that's what it was.
When there was the game before that. Well, they lost to them to not make it to the World Series.
Yeah,
and he threw like I think 120 pitches or more.
Yeah.
And probably threw that whole weekend as well.
Yeah.
So disgusting, like you said.
Yeah, but at least Arkansas plays the game the right way.
Fair enough.
We may just have to leave it there.
Yeah, let's end on that. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you know where to go for coverage, utwbeacon.com. We'll have baseball, softball, everything else throughout the end of the year. So that's going to do it for this time. We'll see you next time.